So the Essex migrant tragedy has taken all today's headlines, from newspaper headlines, as it should do in my opinion. A bit more information has emerged. Yesterday reports were circulating that the lorry had come from Holyhead in North Wales. It appears what's happened is the two components, the trailer section where these people were found had come from Zeebrugge in Belgium, and the lorry section had come from Holyhead in North Wales. The driver, Mo Robinson, who's 25 from County Armagh, Portadown, has been arrested. Now that doesn't mean, and I think this needs to be emphasised, that he was necessarily involved in this operation, this people smuggling operation, and that appears to be the case, as opposed to just random opportunism of migrants jumping on the back of a truck. It sounds like truly horrible conditions. These people would have frozen to death. Apparently, if the refrigerator was on, and that appears to be the case, it would have been up to minus 25 degrees, so they would have literally frozen to death. The latest reports are suggesting they may actually be Chinese. Now, if that's the case, then it would be all the more similar to the 2000 case in Dover, where there was 58 Chinese migrants. In fact, it would mean that all three of the deadliest migrant-related tragedies in this country have been related to Chinese migrants, not Middle Eastern or African migrants. That is the 2000 Dover case, where 58 were found dead, the 2004 Morecambe Bay tragedy, 23 dead, and this one, 39 dead. So clearly there is a problem with poor Chinese being exploited in this way. If indeed they are Chinese, like I say, this isn't certain. I don't intend to go into deep detail about what should be done with this. I think any policy matters definitely need to look at deterrence, because there has to be a way to discourage people from coming here. I think, though, whatever your stance on this is, to me a normal human reaction is to look at this for what it is, a horrible tragedy. And this was being debated on the British and Global Muslims for Secular Democracy group that I'm in. They talk about all sorts of things, and someone put a link to some comments on a pro-leave page. I've asked him specifically for the link to the page, but I put a screenshot of these comments. I'm going to read a few of them out. I'm not surprised by this, but I'm also disgusted. Here we go. Paul Johnson, devastating for who? I'm personally over the moon, sneaking in and stealing our benefits. Richard Evans, best news of the day. I will know the full story by end of. The day started in Bulgaria to Ireland, Ireland to England, but that food going to our chain, better they found out they was bad. Can't quite make out what grammar he's getting at there. Tonya Rose Bryant, why can't we have that here? It would open so much housing for the people here should have it first, and it would stop a lot of the bullcrap. John Knight, 39 less people we have to support. Simon Chung, thanks for the news, it brightens up my day, it has. David Kingsman, hopeless serves as a deterrent. Darren Cheney, tough. This is the sort of mindset that is coming from certain Brexiteer pages, and yes, I know that doesn't represent the attitudes of all Brexiteers, but it is absolutely irrefutable that there is a hardcore aspect of very ugly, I don't know what to describe it as. I mean, even if you think these people are coming for benefits or whatever it is, to be so callous, to be so desensitised to a tragedy like this, I find that utterly disgusting. My response was, thank God I am not in their shoes. I'm absolutely disgusted by those attitudes, but unfortunately I'm not surprised. And when you get the likes of Katie Hopkins, who referred to migrants as cockroaches, and she never retracted that, you know, this dehumanising of migrants I find utterly repulsive. And I consider myself pretty level-headed on this issue. I am not loony left. I don't advocate like an open door policy. We should have controls. We should think of deterrents that could be put in place. But my God, 39 people died in the most horrible circumstances, and all these sick people can do is think about, 39 less people to give benefits to. There's something seriously wrong with someone with that mindset. And yet the very same people, when you accuse them of racism, they have a tantrum. But it is racist. It is a supremacist mindset that they're not British, so they're inferior. Their lives are less valuable. That's a racist mindset. I'm all for the mentality of, let's look after our own homeless before, being a charity for the world. I get that, and I agree with it, actually. I mean, my city has a serious rough sleeper issue. But I'm disgusted by the sort of desensitized mentality from this. And it's always the same blowhard people. And yeah, they're all leavers. I mean, there's no way around it. The people with that mentality did not vote Remain, okay? So there is a dynamic to that. And to anyone who voted Leave and who said, but you're saying we're all... No, I'm not saying that. I am saying, though, that this is a domain of the Leave side. And it's connected to that because it's on the pro-Brexit pages. It's not on just random pages, it's on specifically pro-Brexit pages. So I just was thinking about what they would have went through. I initially thought it would have been very sort of hot, stuffy, but if it turns out they froze to death, I don't know what's worse. Anyway, there isn't much more to say. Like I say, the details are still emerging. It may be the origin of these people was from China. We tend to think as migrants as being Iranian, Syrian, Eritrean, but actually the Chinese make up the fourth largest contingent of people exploited by people traffickers, and these people are in a world apart from those well-off young Chinese nationalists that come to our universities. These are usually poor rural people who speak very little English. They're exploited. They're desperate people. I think people trafficking is one of the most evil things, and I support the Home Secretary, Priti Patel. She said that she's going to increase the penalties for this. I hope so. That doesn't mean the driver is guilty, that it may be that he genuinely didn't know what was in his cargo, but if he knew anything, then he's got blood on his hands and he needs to go to jail. But that only time will establish that. As for Bulgaria, Sofia's denying their connection. They say that it was registered in Bulgaria in 2017 by an Irish woman. That's 2 years ago. So apparently often Irish and Northern Irish drivers use Bulgarian registered vehicles, so I don't... that is one of the major sticking points here. Where did they get on? I mean, could it be that they actually boarded in China itself and they travelled across the world, in which case they would have died long before now, and the time of death is going to be hard to establish if they have frozen. That's obviously going to make it hard to establish a time of death. I think time of death is important because it will determine when they got on this lorry. I do feel for lorry drivers it's a very difficult job, and if I'm driving a big vehicle like that, I think a lot of people would be avoiding the industry now because of the risk of these sort of things happening. Assuming that this guy isn't complicit in what happened. But anyway, clearly we need to have policies that reflect common sense and deter people from coming in, I think Diane Abbott's approach is a bit reckless. She suggests, for example, that international airports in developed countries operate a safe route for refugees to get in. To me, that would only encourage the crisis. And the more people are encouraged to come, the more they'll be preyed on by people traffickers. So I'm not sure if that's a solution. But like I say, it's brought all the ugly sentiments out of the woodwork. The same people then whine about being called racists. I'm going to call a spade a spade. If your response to a tragedy like this where 39 people have died is to laugh or say that's 39 less people to claim benefits, you're a scumbag. And I will call a spade a spade. You're also a racist because you're saying their lives are worth less. It's absolutely disgusting.